Um, The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2020. Is everybody aware of them, the members?
Yes, I'd like to make a correction to those minutes.
Okay.
From the ones I submitted to what John printed, he modified the motion to reflect the motion by Savage to discard the motion from last meeting was different than what I had written and what was recorded, but a motion to discard another motion is not allowed in the rules of order. The only way to revisit a motion is during a current meeting with a motion to revisit. But by disregarding that, canceling out our motion, was the next motion for Greg Johnstone to value engineer, I think covered what we were trying to do.
I think the procedure you described is correct, Chris, and I think we are covered by making the second motion.
So with the committee's and chair's permission, I'd just like to take that section out of the minutes and then make a motion to approve with that amendment.
Is there any other discussion about that? If not, I'll ask that you make that a motion, Chris, and ask for a second.
So move.
Seconded. Is there any other discussion?
Seconded.
If not, all in favor, raise your hand, please.
All right.
Opposed? It's carried. All right. To follow the minutes of February 8th, the agenda, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Adam right now in hopes that Greg Johnston can give us an update on the plans for the new walkways.
Yeah, is Greg here?
Yep, I'll be here. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Sure. So since the last meeting in your guys' order, we met with the lowest contractor and we valued out much of the stone and worked at increasing the concrete. They in turn returned a bid that was half of the price before, which was about $403,000. We then we had the window of that. They returned the bid on a Monday, and by like Wednesday, John worked with Tony to develop a warrant request to make May's town meeting for, I don't know if it's actually an allocation, but I think it's just a rearrangement of the funds. I'm not perfectly clear on that. I don't think it's taking new money as I understood it. But I can pop up on my screen where we went from the large full granite abutment. We have scaled back to shorter reinforced concrete design. I think I'm trying to share the screen. Did that share?
No.
Not yet, huh? Let's see. And basically the north one where we were proud and had some architectural angles on the south one, they're both be very similar to the north abutment. And so this is kind of shows you where it was valued down to. There is still some stone in there that can take a beating. And of course, the concrete is sealed behind it. So this is gives you an idea where we landed in the value engineering of that. I could show you the plan view as well, but I think this maybe describes it a little bit better than all the technical details that are on the plan. And so with, I guess with Tony and John worked with the town to get a warrant together. And they cannot start until the fall of 22, just by material deliveries award and that seemed to work with John. So that's my update. If you guys, I can email this all around to you afterwards, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to kind of answer what I can.
This is a rendition of the north ramp, right?
Yes, and the south one is very similar, only it has an angled an angled tip to it. And you will
Okay.
get the benefit that we started in looking to reduce the slope and become more ADA compliant, or become ADA compliant on both of them. So you'll be ADA on both the marina float and the dinghy float.
Really?
Is there some means by which the concrete is protected from corrosion by salt, either be rock salt or this environment?
Yeah, it's salt guard product. I mean, the concrete additives these days, it's a marine grade high PSI, has low air entrainment. So it's very impermeable, and then it's sealed. We've done a number of these. So here's the plan view. Sort of the detail in the stone, and basically the ceiling stays intact. It doesn't corrode. It's when it gets banged in and chipped that you'll slowly get the rebar to oxidize and then swell, and then the catalyst of it sort of crumbling, which you have now, but the one that's there, I think it's about, I don't want to say 60 years, but it's been there a while.
John Lemoyne, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Our approval now allows this to go to town meeting to approve the funding. Is that correct? If we should approve this?
Yes, the warrant article has been written up, and it needs your approval to go forward.
Okay. And Greg, your firm, you feel you're firm with the price quotes that you've been given?
Yep, that specific question. We worked through details. I asked them, should a contract be written up on the VE that they would honor? The answer was yes. And if there's any hesitation, we, with John's permission, built in a small contingency in the value number, meaning that I think we put an 8% contingency for something to come up. So yeah, I'm confident in the pricing we got reflects our design. We revalued it, gave it back to contractor, sat down. They had some comments on material problems, such as, can we use galvanized railing instead of stainless steel, and some of those things, which all made sense. So yeah, I'm confident in the price.
Okay, good.
And they'll have a set of stamped drawings that they'll be held liable to follow.
Absolutely. And I think to be Chris, your comment, I've completed the changes necessary through the process of VEing the items and getting the costs. I've only made it through the redesign of the north, but the south is very similar. I just haven't tidied up the notes and the specs on the south one, but I have completed the north one.
Fantastic.
so-
Thank you.
Yep. And so with should an award come, there'll be the contract documents we have and the specifications, which the plans will become part of the contract, which we already have developed to date. So all the contract documents will link together to these plans.
Great work. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks very good to me. Are there any questions for Greg or from the audience? If not, I would like to have a motion made that we accept this new proposal, and we can submit it, have it ready for our annual town meeting, and proceed with the proposed construction dates.
I make a motion that we accept the new proposal to be presented on the warrant article at town meeting.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? It's moved and seconded that we accept this new proposal, the second proposal as presented. And I'll ask for a positive vote by raising your hand.
Aye.
And any opposed, nay, or raise your hand. Okay, I think it's agreed that we're going to accept this second proposal. Greg, thank you very much for your patience and your hard work.
All right. Thank you, guys. And I'll sure we'll be in tune for your next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
All right.
Thank you, Greg.
I know.
So just for your information, this has already been sent to Eaton and Peabody, and Andy Hamilton has vetted the warrant article. It has been prepared, and the town clerk has it, just needs our go-ahead, which we just got. So thank you.
All right. So, any new business? I've taken things out of order a little bit, but general issues? No. Well, we have some old business that dealt with the a proposal from the Northeast Harbor Fleet that's generated some interest. John or Adam, do you want to bring us up to date on what's going on?
Well, it looks like.
Sure.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
Yeah. No, if you go ahead, Adam,
Well, we
I'll
received-
listen and
yeah, you can add to it. Or we received a plan from the fleet to install new moorings in the Gilpatric Cove. Would be I guess east of the ledge there, and so I don't know if you guys all have that. I think you should, or whoever wanted to look at it. What the proposed plan was, adding quite a few moorings to the cove, and today we've been getting some calls with some concerned homeowners around the area. Different concerns about adding that many moorings and what it'll do to the cove. So do we have representatives listening from the fleet here?
Not
Or
look like it.
what's that?
It does not look like it.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I sent them out the agenda and the link. So I'm surprised they're not here, because they actually wanted to present their plan to the committee.
And if I remember correctly, they were also going to present us more information about their current situation for parking and what additional parking would be required because of our great concerns about the current parking problem already.
And they asked to be under, to push this forward under old business. And, you know, this kind of stuff is, we've been examining and having it brought to our attention, the expansion elsewhere in our waters, that it really needs to be publicized and put on agenda for everyone to have notice and a chance to be involved in the process.
yeah, this there's been quite a lot of discussion about the random expansion off the fleet and basically working offshore toward Greening's Island. We've all noticed the change. It's been out of kind of random moorings being placed here and there, and it seemed to have gotten worse every year. The fleet was responsible about taking this issue on, and at our last meeting, we addressed their concerns, or our concerns. I would like John or Adam to fill us in on the legal requirements and regulations as they apply to the town right now about placing moorings in the harbor. Can one of you bring us up to date on that, John?
Sure. The first thing, I was kind of shocked when all the people started calling and emailing that the fleet had not notified their members of anything that they were doing, for one. But as far as, you know, placing a mooring outside of the harbors, where the town of Mount Desert has a harbor master, me and Adam, we have the sole power to issue a permit for a mooring to be placed, you know, outside of the harbors, as long as there's access. If it's a private home, they have to have 100 feet of shore frontage. That really is the only requirements. There's not a ton to it, other than them sticking to the specifications and stuff that the town has set forth for moorings by, series, depending on the boat size. Other than that, there really isn't a lot to it other than, me or Adam making a site visit and make sure that it won't interfere with anyone else's access, that it's a suitable location for what they're doing.
Are you suggesting that the placement of the moorings, like as we observed last year, would have been legal in all aspects then, John?
Yes, they came to me. I looked at it. I had, Matt Knox, Alva Barge, look at the location. We both agreed that it was something that was could be done. And I gave them permission to go ahead with 4 moorings as
Okay.
a trial thing to see how that cove would work out. Because like everyone else has said in the letters that they've sent, there's been minimal to, no moorings ever in that area.
Well, within the last few days, we've gotten some correspondence from people, property owners on the shoreline, particularly, that seem to be opposed to this. And I think, in all fairness to everybody, we should put this as a particular item on the agenda for our next meeting, so that everybody can be, so we can hear a presentation from the fleet, as well as a presentation from people who are in favor or opposed to it. How do the other members feel?
I agree, and I think it'd be nice to see a dialogue. Obviously, some has not reached out to the property owners and or other members of the fleet, because I think many of them are members of the fleet and had no idea of what was going on.
John, when did, at some point, I assume we went to, they had to check in with us before they placed the moorings. So the moorings off the fleet that have expanded towards Greening's Island, like at what point did we, require them to tell us that that they were going to put moorings there?
Just for.
Yeah, the moorings,
Who's
the
speaking?
moorings that are.
Who was that
I
speaking?
need to-
Eric
This
Jones.
is John.
No, before you were speaking, I didn't know who that
Eric
was.
Jones was asking the question.
Okay, because we couldn't see either. Okay, thanks.
Sure. So as far as I know, Eric, I've never given permission for anything to be expanded out at the fleet other than the 4 moorings last year. They may go back as far as something that Sean Murphy had approved, or even Will Bodie, or they just did them without any approval at all.
Right. I felt like there was a point where we went to, where it was kind of a free for all. And then we went to, you had to start, letting us know you were going to put moorings there, I guess is what I'm getting at. Because obviously anybody that goes, I go up there very rarely, but obviously they've expanded quite a ways into the channel to go up in there, I would feel.
It was 2017, and at that meeting, they admitted 8 of them, 4 owned by privately, were placed illegally and not registered or asked for by the town.
I'm not aware of that at all. This is Franny. I'm the manager, and I've been the manager of the fleet since 2008. And we did not purchase any more additional moorings or move moorings out in the direction of Greening Island in my entire tenure. It must have been prior to me getting there.
Well, your last representative at the meeting expressed those and pointed the ones out, and 4 are privately held, and the records of the mooring operators also indicated that.
that there are 4 privately held moorings out there?
Yep, and 4 that expanded since 2017.
Yeah, the 4 that are over by Sergeant Head area that we put in under John's direction last year.
No, there's 4 outside of that, heading towards Greenings Island.
They're not owned by the fleet.
Yeah, there's 4 that are owned by the fleet that we were told by the representative last at our meeting when they first asked for the expansion out. And I don't have the paper in front of me that showed it before. There was a 400 Searings, and I know from talking to Jason Chapman, those, they do have records of when those went in prior to the ordinance enacted, that what had to be acted, those adopted May 2nd of 2017.
I'm not aware of us purchasing any moorings from Jason or any of these folks in my tenure. We did not expand the mooring field. They might have adjusted them or tweaked them, but we did not purchase any more additional moorings. And
But we were told Clifton Dock owns the moorings and the fleet rents them from Clifton Dock Corporation. Is that correct?
yes, the Clifton Dock Corporation owns all of the moorings. Yes.
So you operate from the fleet. So who's the operator? Who owns Clifton Dock Corporation?
The fleet owns 100% of the Clifton Dock Corporation.
And they're a nonprofit as well, or?
They are, no, I believe they are, the Clifton Dock Corporation is a for-profit institution and the fleet is a nonprofit. But I'll have to double check on that exactly.
So the Clifton Dock's the one that actually placed moorings and maintains the moorings.
Correct. Yep.
And there's a possibility that the moorings are set towards Greenings could be a private thing and not a Clifton Dock thing. Somebody may have hired somebody to place a mooring there and that's their mooring and they just use the fleet.
Correct.
Okay.
We know that there are a bunch of those and we've already spoken to a bunch of those folks when we described what we would like to do and the fact that they would be outside of this new perimeter. And they said they were very anxious to move back inside or up by Smallage Point to get out of that traffic area as well. And they were very willing to have their moorings moved as well, to bring the whole perimeter in.
I have, Tom Thurl, I have one question. Those moorings that are outside, John, are those registered or not?
No, not currently. Every mooring outside of the 4 harbors are non-registered.
But are required to, any set after May 2nd, 2017 are required to be.
I see. Well, I think we got a real hornet's nest here, so this isn't going to be resolved in 1 or 2 nights. And I think we got to put everyone together. It's like part of the fleet doesn't know what's going on. And the list was pretty well, I don't think they missed much. And I think we got to keep it in the washing machine till we can wring it out.
I think it's, none of us have been aware of the extent of all this was going on. And I'd like to dedicate our next meeting to have this as the major topic when we can all be prepared to answer questions and maybe we can make some resolutions, maybe we can't. But to have it just, I know the fleet was prepared, but there's a lot of interest from property owners and other fleet members that we're just beginning to hear from. And I think
it also sounds like we need to hear from the Clifton Dock Corporation that's owned by the fleet, because it seems like they act independently yet together in some way. So I feel like that's a little complicated as well.
Well, that's true. Fran, do you think you're representing Clifton Dock as well?
Yes, I am. Essentially, this was all set up well before I got there, and the Clifton Dock Corporation was set up to own the all of the moorings and to also own the launch service to the moorings. The fleet then is the one who essentially people have to become members of the fleet in order to rent a mooring. And that's the body that, you know, has all of the other property, as well as offering all of the boating services, including the sailboat races and that. And then there's a third corporation, which is the nonprofit sailing school that offers free sailing lessons to many of the town's youth, and then offers sailing lessons at a fee for its members.
And
And
do they own the moorings?
no, they have nothing to do with the moorings. They're
Okay, well, I
just
was,
the
yeah, I
three
was,
organizations of the fleet.
Let's-
I'm specifically interested in the ownership of the moorings and who oversees that for-profit portion of the fleet that is Clifton Dock. Is there a board or a
Yes,
representative?
yes, and it is also, it is owned, the Clifton Dock Corporation is owned entirely by the Northeast Harbor Fleet, which is controlled by a group of flag officers and board members. Yes.
John, I think it should be made clear to everybody, whether we post something or not, John and Adam, what the town's regulations are and the extent of the powers of the harbor master to assign mooring space outside the existing harbors. Do we have anything like that in writing, John?
I have it right here, Rick, if you'd like.
It's in our ordinance.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
under 7.11-.4, use of private moorings. And hang on one sec. Read the second paragraph at the end. The harbor master, with approval of the harbor committee, may create mooring and traffic plans for other harbors or any other in the tidal waters of Mount Desert as needed. So that would be relevant to that.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty vague, though.
Well, we're saying there could be a traffic plan as as you're coming into the harbor or as you go by that with 250 feet off from the shore, you know, where the moorings encroach out, that, you know, we can make a traffic plan for that and should with approval of that.
You know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, but I think the vagueness of the existing regulation allows kind of a random expansion outside of the harbor limits, where inside our harbors, we're very concerned about swing room and mooring size and boat size. And they're assigned because of the limitations of the space. And here again, now all of a sudden, we're also dealing with space requirements.
I think we've talked about this before about regulating moorings outside of the harbor, you know, all the different harbor areas. And I guess we have to decide if we want to do it or not do it. I think, you know, if we're going to let it be a free for all, let it be free for all. But if we need to put the work in to register every mooring that's in the town waters, then we just do it. And it doesn't seem like talking to like a Jason Chapman who took over from Matt Knox, and they do the majority of the moorings in this. He seems to think it would be an easy thing to, you know, say who everybody's mooring is. And I'm sure there's a few that don't go through him, that go through somebody else. But for the majority of them, I think we could figure out who they were if that's the way we want to go.
Yeah, I think that's the way we're going in. The mooring inspectors are going to be our greatest ally in finding out who everyone is. My guesstimate is outside of the 4 harbors in the town of Mount Desert waters, we're probably looking at 800 to 1,000 moorings.
So it comes right back to me again. We're dealing right now even with an area that we're not picking and choosing the sizes of the moorings or where they're going to be located. We're kind of giving a nod to this expansion in Gilpatric's Cove. And I'm not sure that we are really legally liable to take that on. You want to comment, John or Adam?
I mean, the fleet has put a plan together and they have sized all their moorings, and they've been working with Jason Chapman and Matt Knox to, figure out swing room and all of that. So they are doing, everything that we would do inside the harbor, but this is a completely new anchorage / mooring field. So, this is, it's going to take some time. It's not a one meeting thing.
No.
I think to touch on what John just said there about to place one or two moorings here and there is one thing, but to completely take over for one private entity to completely take over a cove and turn it in there seems different than, a landowner placing a mooring out there, whether it's registered or not. It just seems like we're creating another, little harbor, so to speak. And I don't know if that's what we want to get into.
Yeah, in the history of what we do, we've never had this type of mooring request. The magnitude of it is tremendous when you think about taking over an entire cove. And then it's for rental purposes. It seems to me like the homeowners on that cove should have a lot of consideration here, or more consideration here. You're going to take that
you're right, Jim.
water away from them for someone to do business.
Yes,
we were
and
also
that's
doing it to
why
get the moorings out of the traffic lane over at Gilpatric Cove. We were trying to shave off the boats out there.
Well, let me ask you
redistribute.
another question, please. You operate the fleet, you have a certain number of members. Do you have anything with a ceiling or a maximum, a number of members that you would accept due to the fact of mooring space and parking?
Oh,
Or
we've
would
always,
you, or is it open-ended that you take on membership as they come along?
yeah, we take on membership, but we don't promise them that they can get a mooring. There's usually a 3 or 4 or 5 year waiting list to get a mooring, and sometimes longer. Somebody has to give up a mooring or give up their membership for a mooring to become available.
Yeah, and that's the way it is in Northeast Harbor, Seal Harbor, and Somerville.
Yeah.
It's maxed out, and that's where it is until someone gives one up.
Yeah.
And then the issue is parking. We have a subcommittee from the Harbor Committee that's dealing with parking at the marina, but it's obviously, we've learned already that the parking throughout the town impacts the marina, and we're going to learn more about it as we go along. But this town is pretty maxed out when it comes to parking. So adding more membership, adding more cars, adding more boats, and adding more moorings is a real concern.
I think, I obviously go lobstering. I don't lobster there anywhere near there. I drive by there, going to Manset in my boat or going up Sound, no interest at all in fishing there. I think there are some people in the town that lobster there. So completely shutting that down because we're putting moorings there is an issue for them. It's not going to touch me financially at all, could care less, but for other people it may. And the fact that we may allow a cove to become pretty much privately owned because we're going to allow them to put that many moorings in there doesn't really seem, I mean, I'll let you guys decide, because it doesn't seem like what we should be doing, it to completely privatize a cove for moorings for a for-profit company or for anybody.
Well, folks,
I'm interested to hear these comments because I think it's very relevant, and I'm going to ask that this topic be brought up as our main agenda for our next meeting. But even then, I'm not sure we're going to resolve it. I think there's a lot of questions right now.
So let me just ask another question. If this plan was approved, that would maximize the mooring space in that cove, I would guess, by looking at that diagram, correct?
We think that there's actually extra swing space here. We're not sure. We're gonna put all, we were initially planning to put all the deep keeled sailboats, the racing sailboats over there in that Sergeant Head area. First of all, because they look pretty and it'd be nice to have them all in one spot, but also because we think they're gonna lay in a similar way as opposed to in Gilpatric Cove, where we have very, shallow draft boats near deep draft boats, and we have all sorts of current coming off of Smallish Point that does back eddies, and boats lay different ways. So we have to have actually extra room in between the boats. We're not sure. We'd like to think that everything will lay nicely if we have all the same boats together, and we can realign the Gilpatric Cove area to be more efficient as well. But most important of all, we want to really pull in the perimeter so that it's easy for people to transit from Northeast Harbor to the Sound area without going out and around moored boats.
Am I wrong to say when you just said it will look
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
he did say pretty. Yes, he did.
Yes. Yeah. All the pretty sailboats will be all together. Yeah.
Before our next meeting, would you be willing to reach out to the property owners along there and having a discussion? Some of them are members, and, maybe do something to guarantee that their property will have access to those moorings or involvement, or just an open dialogue so they're aware of what's going on and a fluid discussion. So the next meeting, everyone's on the same, kind of plan and knows what's going on.
Sure, we could do that.
The letters of concern and the notices of concern, I'm assuming, are fleet members. And I don't know if, Fran, you've been made aware of the same letters that we have or not, but.
No, haven't
I'm
gotten
just
anything.
assuming that, oh, okay.
No.
So it
No,
was
if you could-
directed at the Harbor Committee.
Great. If you
And,
could share them with us, we'd love to go talk to
I'm
the people.
sure John and Adam can share them with you.
Thank you.
That-
Should they be read
you-
into the record
you-
here of this meeting, since we have the list of the concerns, or no?
Well, I don't know if I want to go through each letter, but we can catalog them and enter them as evidence or concerns about this issue.
They can be attached as an attachment on the next agenda.
Yep, that's true.
Adam, if you could forward those to Fran, that would be great. And they are quite lengthy. Some of them are 3 and 4 pages long.
So we're all experiencing this pressure of growth and use, and it's only for about 6 weeks of the summer every year. July 4th to the 18th of August. After that, things drop off on either end. It's an amazing short period of time, but it's pretty intense. And it's getting more use every year. Does anyone else have anything to say about this?
So from my point of view, in the representing the town, the property owners, so if they wanted to have a mooring, we normally would grant them the area in front of the house to have a mooring. My question
Yes, that's
is,
correct.
if they don't currently apply for a mooring, we can issue that space to someone else. I don't think we've ever done that in the past, have we?
So when somebody applies for a mooring and the space in front of the house may have already been taken years ago, they get the next closest space available.
But what if there are no boats there currently? Then they would be
If-
given
if
the
one of-
space, they would be given the space directly in front of their residence, correct?
Yes, as close as safely can be done, yes.
So if they don't currently have a mooring, is it our process to allow someone else to take that space? Apply for it and take it?
Yes, it's not our responsibility to keep a space open just in case somebody may want one someday. You know, there's some towns that somebody may have owned that house for years and never wanted one. So the other properties around have, you know, gotten moorings, and then someone buys the house and says, oh, hey, I want a mooring. Well, their mooring might end up a quarter mile down the shore because all the space has been taken.
Yeah, I think you got to be really careful about this space in front of the house idea. That is all the mooring is really dependent upon your access to get to the mooring. And a lot of your space in front of your house is not accessible. No dock, rocky shore, sandy shore, stuff like that. So it's an interesting fact, but it all ties back to the Northeast Harbor fleets, docking facility and their launch service, the use of this area. So anyway, a lot of things to
Yeah,
consider.
well, sure, and that's generally one of my questions is, do you have 100 feet of shore frontage, and how do you access the water?
Exactly.
So a lot of these people, you know, that shoreline, they may not have a dock. So yes, I own 100 feet of shore frontage, but my access is through the fleet's dock.
Right.
And that would cover my two questions, you know, in giving somebody a mooring that had frontage in that area.
Do we have other comments from anybody in the public or board members? Go ahead. Please identify yourself.
Who's up? I'm Jamie Blaine. I live at 4 Southwind Lane. I am not a member of the fleet. I have been in the past, but I'm not. And I'm confused, and it sounds like maybe I'm not the only one. But when I saw the plans for this, which was only a few days ago, they seemed to me to be very, very far along with graphs and pictures of where the moorings would be and conversations that have been had between groups and people. And I'm just curious how that could have happened without anybody really knowing about it, because it seemed to be really about to happen until this meeting today, or perhaps I'm wrong about that, but.
Well, I'll speak
the harbor.
to that, I guess. The fleet brought this proposal to us last month. So it's only a month old at this point. And in the meantime, they've come up with a diagram that you're speaking of. So that's what we're dealing with. My opinion as a committee member, after seeing this and having this meeting tonight, was going to suggest to this committee that we contact all the owners on that cove to have their input. So that's kind of where we are. We're only into this 1 month, and this is the first time that we've seen the diagram also. So it hasn't been going on. Our meetings are always public, as this one is. And there's an agenda that's public. So that's a brief explanation of where we are with this. I think we've got a long ways to go and a lot to consider here.
And we do try not to vote on stuff that isn't on our agenda. When things come up, we'll have a discussion, but we are, I think, pretty good as a committee, waiting if something especially affects others to put it on agenda to get some public notice. And then have a vote.
And just for the record, we got the copy of the mooring plan on last Thursday. So none of us had seen it before Thursday.
Honestly, I think this type of completely taking over a cove in the town, I don't know if it's a town meeting thing, but I think it warrants much more than the harbor committee talking about it, because I think it's not 1 or 2 moorings, it's completely taking over a cove. And I'm sure the property owners would definitely like a little more notice, because I doubt they look at the town agendas for the harbor committee meetings. And that may be their fault for not doing it, but who would assume that you'd be giving up a cove in front of your house to 30 moorings?
I agree with that completely. That's been my thought all along. I'm just concerned it needs to be a lot more public notice. It's a commercial enterprise putting in a whole lot of moorings. I understand why, and I don't fault them, but I just think that we need to talk about it a lot more.
I echo that also, and I think we've never dealt with anything of this magnitude before. So this is new ground for us.
And I agree with Doug and Jim, last couple of comments, but very specifically, I can't imagine 30 more. It won't be 30, it could be 40 or 50 more cars parking there. Because if you have 2 people going to 1 boat, I mean, there's just not parking there.
It's already a problem, the parking, so I can't imagine that it might
Already
be
a
too much of
problem.
a problem to begin with, yeah. I think this is something that the parking committee should look more closely at as well.
And this may be something that kicks us in the butt to look at moorings that are not in the harbors or defined harbors of the town, so that we come up with some more regulated things for those.
This is Agnes Peel at 36 South Shore Road. I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I went on the website, I was not able to get a detail of the agenda. It just said agenda.
Yeah, I had made up the agenda for this meeting before the fleet came to me for this meeting. That's why they are not on it. But I did send the agenda for our meeting to the assistant town clerk to post on the website. I did that early last week, as I always do.
It wasn't posted.
Well, in defense, I don't think we're trying to hide anything here, and I'm sure that the harbor committee wants to be as open and fair as possible. That's why I'm not going to ask for any action tonight or any vote of this. I want it brought up as a main topic of our next meeting next month. And
Can I ask a question? This is Margot Bass. And we're at 6 Barnacles Way. And I've submitted a letter and then an addendum to a letter over the past few days that I would like on the record, please. I have one question, which is that if you took this kind of proposal to its logical extension, a private corporation could just take over Soame Sound and dot the entire cove. with private moorings. And there's no, it seems as though there must be something, and I haven't looked at it, but something about how you zone things. Whether private corporations are allowed to just take over, say, in this case, a cove that has been wild and without commercial boats for as long as I can remember, since like 1974. And so isn't there some sort of, when you're looking at this, don't you look in some sort of zoning picture about what's going to go on in a place? Because if you don't, a private corporation could just put in a request, as I said, to wrap around Somme Sound, and you would have no way to say no, other than if someone else had already put a mooring there.
I think your point's well taken. And it would require maybe some legal analysis for the town to see what the extent of the law says. Again, it just makes me sure that we need to have maybe at least one more meeting and maybe several more that will deal with this issue.
I have one other question, which is when there's something of this magnitude, do you request an environmental impact assessment and say a view shed analysis to properly inform people? Because even someone just coming into this meeting, there it seems like when you're talking, we're not just talking one homeowner's mooring, we're talking 30 plus moorings, and clearly of large sailboats and traffic, motor traffic to and from the fleet around Gilpatric's ledge. Wouldn't it make sense? And I've seen seals, for example, on Gilpatric's ledge. Wouldn't it make sense to ask for an environmental impact assessment and a view shed analysis?
I can't give you a positive answer on that, so.
And that's something that also any commercial mooring has to be approved by the Army Corps of Engineers as well, which we pointed out that we had no idea that the fleet didn't own their moorings, that they were a private company for profit was operating them leasing to a nonprofit. We just discovered that in the last meeting. And we notified them that they had to be permitted by Army Corps of Engineers. And that stuff would be more reviewed by them and those standards. And in our ordinance, we don't have something, but that is something that should be. And we've never had something of this magnitude come before us.
We have any other comments?
The only thing I'd like to add is for those people who felt like they may have been left out, which of course the Harbor Committee was not intentionally trying to leave anyone out. For those people, don't they have access to the previous recorded meetings, because these are always public and recorded? Would they be able to catch up, sort of, so to speak, on last month's meeting that they missed?
They're listed on the town's website in their YouTube recording.
So this way people could catch up if they felt like they would want to review, you know, where it all began. So
that's correct. And after this meeting, where you guys approve the minutes from last meeting, the minutes will get posted from the last meeting also in written type.
For what it's worth, for anyone doing research, and for those of you who know otherwise, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the state of Maine owns all the land under the water. So, you know, what jurisdiction do they have?
I think like Rick said, we're probably best to table or carry this over until the next meeting and talk about it some more, but we may talk about it for a long time. But hopefully we'll get some more comments from people that are, especially the people that are going to be more impacted than some of us. And I feel like it's a bigger issue than our group.
Well, in all fairness to everyone involved, I think we need a legal opinion on where we stand. The impact that a private corporation may have on using the property and the impact on shorefront property owners and the impact on the town regulations. So I think we're in for, we have a lot of things that need to be brought up and some research done before our next meeting.
And I
Yeah,
think like
this-
if it was Miss Bass, I think I have the right name, but like she said, we don't think any of this stuff could happen where somebody could just go, we're gonna put moorings all across Home Sound, but I think we probably need to plan for these things, so the things we don't think could happen, but may actually happen.
Mhm.
One other thing that was brought up to my attention is that it's possibility that we could meet in person at our next meeting. Is that right? Adam, did you indicate that?
I think that, I believe the select board has, I don't know what, but I'm not sure. Is that true, John?
That is, we do have the availability to meet in the meeting room. Obviously everyone has to be masked. Depending on the number of people that wanted to attend, that could create a little bit of a problem with spacing, but
Zoom's available. They'll be able to, we'll have access to the whole Zoom and the camera system of the town.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yes.
the selectmen are doing a hybrid still, with a number of people on Zoom as well.
So I'm going to ask the board how they feel about that. Would you like to meet in person at our next meeting as well as combine it with Zoom?
I,
I
Yes.
personally think that we should try to be safe and err on the side of caution, and until we really get clearance that cases are coming down significantly, I think that we should stay on the Zoom platform, especially because this is, right now we have 33 people on Zoom. And I fear that once proper notice is out, which I think should certainly be, I believe that we'll have many, many more. And I'm concerned about the public health and safety during the pandemic. So I would say Zoom only and continue as we are. That would
I
be my-
agree. I agree with Donna. And I think we have a lot of people that are not in town that want to weigh in on this.
Exactly.
And the other part is I've watched some of the selectmen meetings, and it's a little difficult going back and forth between the people that are on Zoom and the people in person. I think this way is more of an even footing.
Okay, any other comments?
I think I'd agree with that also. I think this is what we've been doing for now. We're not definitely out of the water with the virus, so I'd say keep it going this way for now, and everyone's used to it right now. And if it causes confusion, like the story was saying with, people at the meeting and people on Zoom, then I think we've got some, some very difficult decisions to make here, and the communication line needs to be good and accurate.
Right.
I think
guess
Zoom
I
will
would
be
say
much
I'm
more.
about to go to the- Go ahead,
I
Donna.
was going to say that I believe that Zoom would be much more inclusive as well and safe.
Fine.
I was about to say, I'm about to go to the high school to watch my daughter's senior game, and there's no limitations on people there, so I'm not very concerned about it, but I can also see that the positive part of the Zoom aspect for something such as this, where a lot of people are not here and not going to be able to attend the meeting. So I can see it both ways. I'd like to meet in person just because I'd prefer to do that over a computer, but I can understand that there are some people on this issue that would be heard that won't be heard if we meet in public.
that's why they're hybrid. If you want to go Zoom, you go Zoom. If you want people to come in public, they're public. That's why the selectmen do it.
It's a combination of both.
Yeah, so you have Zoom, no one's limited.
I'll ask for a motion.
You want to
Did
vote,
we-
or you get the vote doing the motion?
I'm gonna have a motion whether we're gonna meet by Zoom or a hybrid meeting.
So
All-
moved.
Pardon me?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor of
So move
meeting?
to which, because he asked if he didn't specify.
No,
Is
I have,
now.
The motion should have it, make a recommendation one way or the other.
the
I
motion is,
recommend, okay, go ahead.
go ahead, Donna.
I recommend that we continue on Zoom for the safety of the community and inclusiveness as well.
Okay, we're only gonna deal with one motion. All in favor of Donna's motion, raise your hand.
We should second that, right?
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Jim.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor of meeting by Zoom only at our next meeting, raise your hand. Opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
I counted 4 in favor and 3 opposed. So it's gonna be, next meeting is gonna be by Zoom only. And the topic will be the Northeast Harbor Fleet's proposal to reestablish a new mooring field in Gilpatric's Cove. That'll be the primary topic. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah, just for clarity in dealing with this, Gilpatric Cove is the cove where the fleet currently has moorings. Is the cove to the east that we're talking about to Sergeant Head? Is that part of Gilpatric Cove also? And should we have a different label for that?
I'm not sure that it's designated on any map chart, but I'm happy to call it Gilpatric Cove right now.
Okay,
Still part 2 or something.
Sure, that sounds good. Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
is that
Second.
seconded?
Seconded.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, everybody, for coming and your participation.